Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. You only win a Super Bowl 2 times every 5 years, right? Oh! The warm-up act is over. Let's bring in Melissa Etheridge, massive Chiefs fan. Melissa.
Super Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score! And we'll see you next week, but until then, as always, go Chiefs. Hello, and welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast. My name is Matt Connor, and if you're wondering, finally, Connor's beard has been eclipsed on the show. I'm so thrilled to welcome probably every one of you. You should know Cole already. If you don't, Cole DeRuse is here from How About Those Chiefs? Not just those Chiefs though, Cole. How about are you? First of all, before we talk about the Chiefs, I was trying to bring the show title into that, but yeah, how are you holding up this week?
Well, first off, I'm honored to be here. I was telling you, even before the stream started, I've been watching Arrowhead Addict way before I started my own YouTube channel, man. So much respect to you guys. Always love your post-game shows, the pre-game stuff. But I'm doing good. I'm getting over this weird 3-week cold. It's come in 3 phases. So I thought I was well for a few days, and then I was not for 4. Thought I was well again for 3 days, and I was not for 4. And now I'm on the 3rd round of that. I think I'm well. I don't... So we're trying to figure it out, but we're doing good, man. Just kids are excited for Christmas, and we're just getting ready for all that. We're going to celebrate Christmas Eve, rather, this year because the Chiefs play on Christmas instead.
Because the Chiefs play on Christmas at 1, yeah.
Yes, sir. But I'm excited.
By the way, you sounded like you were describing the Chiefs' season there. It's
yep.
for a little bit it sounds good, then we think they're sick, and then we feel like they're good again, and then it sounds like your own health trajectory was the season. Glad to have you on board, folks. In case you don't know, just by the way, first of all, Cole runs the YouTube channel. He is the YouTube channel. How About Those Chiefs? Check the description of here, on YouTube or Spotify, wherever you take in the show, for all the right links to be able to follow Cole. But if I have these stats right, Cole, I just want to celebrate you for a second here. 100.
All right.
If I'm right, 183,000 subscribers, 212 million video views in something that just started at the beginning of 2022. Is that right?
Yeah, those are kind of wild numbers. It's pretty surreal. So yeah, man, it's been a wild ride. It's been a crazy ride.
Well, clearly, it's not just a crazy ride. It's been a great ride, a successful ride, and a substantive ride. And any of us who've ever checked it out, when you watch it, they're well produced, they're informative, everything's timely. It's just great stuff. And some people really know how to navigate this current world of media. Look, I'm over 40. I stumble over, I'm still trying to dial up with my AOL CD. I got from the, anyway, you get what I'm saying. So, folks, if you're somehow not already tuned into what Cole's doing, please do. But we had him on the show to talk Chiefs. We're here to talk Chiefs.
Yeah, man.
We're fresh off the win in New England. People want to complain about various things about New England. I'm of the thought that if you can beat Bill Belichick by double-digit points in Foxborough, no matter what year it is, that's good football. Did you walk away with that same sort of sentiment, or were you a little bit more downtrodden about what were your feelings after watching that game on Sunday afternoon?
Yeah, I think if Tony didn't bat that pass up and have it picked, I think I'm feeling great. I mean, I felt pretty good. You got to think about it. The Chiefs kneeled it out at the 5, so that's basically 35-17. Yeah. I mean, it's a convincing win against a not good Patriots offense, but a pretty good top 10 in a lot of categories Patriots defense, and Bill Belichick, obviously, one of the best to do it. So, yeah, I walked away feeling good. I just think the Chiefs needed a win pretty badly after 2 losses in a row. And yeah, I think minus the Tony thing, I would have felt probably like 9 out of 10. It dropped that one play dropped things down a couple for me.
Down to like a 7, a 6? Is that
Yeah, like a 7. I mean, it was a win. A win is a win, and it's hard to win in the NFL. We hear it every week. The parity is crazy. I mean, dude, just look last night. That was insane. Drew Lock and the Seahawks beating the Eagles on a buzzer beater, basically. It was crazy. So every week, man, you just gotta soak in the dubs. And with that win, the Chiefs now have another winning season, and it's 11 winning seasons in a row. We're in the best era, in my opinion, of Chiefs Kingdom, and it's just awesome. We got to enjoy the ride, even though we know the offense isn't firing like they normally, or like we're used to, rather, in the Mahomes era.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up Kadarius Toney. I want to talk about him. I want to talk about, we're here this episode, really wanting to sort out the Chiefs playmakers. Thought you'd be a great partner in this to try to work through, like, what are we supposed to think, right? Like, I think at this point we know what to think about Travis Kelce. That's, he's the best tight end in the business. And even if you want to think he's slowing or hurting or whatever, more distracted, according to some people, whatever it is, he's still leading all tight ends. He's still the king, so there's that. Rashee Rice, we could talk about him too. He deserves to be celebrated. I think we all love what's happening there. But I'm looking at the rest of this room, and here's where I want to go with you first. In the beginning of the year, there was a lot of excitement. We have so many good wide receivers. We want to keep them all, and we kept 7 for the first time, when in a typical year is like 5 or 6, right? Which meant that another position was left lacking because we had to have them all. Now, like 3 months later, we're ready to send them all back home. Like if we could, like, we're still checking, like, can I return this package, please? Like, because I only need like really 2 of these guys now. And we're ready to restart the whole position. I want to start there. How shocked are you at we got to keep 7 going to, do we even want more than 1 or 2 of these guys?
I mean, I'm probably as shocked as basically everybody. I mean, we thought, the majority, I'll just say I thought heading into the season, like, sure, EB was gone. They have Nagy. I think I underestimated just all the offensive coaching transitions, honestly, a little bit there, which may play certainly a role. But I was like, well, you don't have Juju, okay, but you've got, Rashee Rice, which we didn't even know Rashee was going to be that guy, but they drafted another receiver. I thought maybe Sky was going to be taking that sophomore leap. And I was like, well, we don't have Juju anymore, but like Sky's heading into year 2. Yeah, we've got Richie James, who had 550 yards from Daniel Jones the year before. Justin Ross, he had a lot of hype, obviously, coming in. I had no idea what to make of that at the time being. I was rooting for him, but just wasn't sure. I'm definitely shocked that the wide receiver is basically the same minus Juju, and you go from how they were last year. I think Mahomes was something like 6th or 8th in QBR when targeting his wide receiver room last year, and he's like 23rd or 24th or something this year when targeting the wide receiver room. The worst drop rate over the last decade, it's like 8%. This stuff I never expected it, man. I was pretty surprised, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
MVS too. MVS was the other one. Like, I thought he was gonna take a step up as well. So
yeah, I'm with you on this, and I think this is what makes me want to sort things out, because let me play devil's advocate here. And you could tell me, gosh, dude, you're drinking way too much Kool-Aid. You need to like get some less sugar or whatever, right? Do you think that, because a lot of people are like, flush these guys down the toilet, I'm done. They're like, cut Tony right now. Sky Moore, don't even want him on the roster despite having 2 more years on his contract. MVS, bench him for the rest of eternity. I mean, at that point, you're not even going to have wide receivers to even play, because everyone wants to like clear the decks of these guys completely. And what do you do at that point? Sign Jarvis Landry and Dwayne Bowe? Like, you get what I'm saying. But so here's what I'm wondering: do you hold out hope for any of these guys who have been termed complete busts or total disappointments that maybe in some ways there's been a small sample size. I know we've played a lot of games, but if you're only getting like one target a game and you drop that target, that's a small sample size, right? So if you only get 2 targets a game and that you do that for 6 games, that's still only 12. Like if you're going through the mental yips, if you will, like Harrison Butker kicking extra points or something like he had problems with a couple years ago, I think you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like how much grace do you think we should be giving the wide receivers, and or is there at least one in particular that you're like, okay, I get it. I get all the emotions. We all hate the losses too. The drops suck. Mahomes should be angry, but at least I'm thinking positive thoughts about this guy. Is there a guy that fits for you?
Every week we're just like, man, if there's just one less drop or one less penalty in the red zone or one less turnover, they're probably winning some of these games, like the 5 games they lost. Like they're probably, have 2 losses, maybe 3 instead of 5. I think I'm in the middle a little bit. I'm probably not with some of the camp of like, we don't want to see Tony back out on the field again for the rest of the season. We could talk, I don't know if MVS is here next year. Like, I don't know, like, because you could save $9 million in cap space by letting him go. Like, that's a different story. But if we're talking like from now until like playoffs, I'm over here just kind of like, well, somebody just said it in the comments. I saw it pop up here. The offense at this point just kind of is what it is. I like the idea of what the Chiefs kind of did last week. They had more 12 personnel. Noah Gray got more snaps, even though, for whatever reason, after that one catch for like 32 yards, he was only targeted one time again after that. But I like seeing Noah Gray snaps up. And then, honestly, I like seeing MVS and Sky snaps go down. And I'll just say it. My heart goes out to Sky. Something's wrong with his knee. He's on IR. I don't know if he needs surgery or what. I do see a very small minority celebrating. Maybe they're not celebrating the injury, and maybe that's what people are thinking they're doing. They're just glad that he's not out on the field, maybe because they wanted to see him benched. But I hope he heals up, and I hope he makes a great junior leap. I don't know if because there was no sophomore leap. Maybe it'll be junior, but I'm kind of like in the middle. I feel like at least outwardly, the Chiefs coaching staff needs to be a little bit more firm. Like if they're going to make mistakes, put him on the bench for a couple series. Remember Jawan Taylor, they benched him for a couple series even just earlier this season.
Yeah.
Like what? And maybe they kind of are, but it's hard to know with the wide receiver room because they rotate him in and out so much. It was easy to tell with Taylor because they're like, oh, Jawan Taylor's not in there right now. It was, I think it was Prince. But yeah, I don't know what you do other than, well, I guess, dude, I would love to hear your thoughts too, because there's a lot of question marks of people coming back. Like with Sky on IR, Justin Ross is returning. In theory, McCole Hardman can come back here somewhat soon if his 21-day window to return opens up. He said he'd be back before the playoffs. So we think, oh yeah, it could look like this, but then you've got those 2 coming back, potentially McCole, but definitely Justin Ross. Richie James, I hope he gets an uptick in snaps. That's what I would like to see personally a little bit. It was kind of a loaded question you gave me. I hope I gave you a little bit. Feel free to bounce back and go a different or keep the convo going. But yeah, man, it's in a weird place. I just think their wide receiver room is like a big question mark right now. And there's nothing else. Like there's people saying, well, I told you, and they should have gone and traded for a wide receiver 1 or this or that. That's a whole different convo. I think the Chris Jones holdout stalled some potential money that could have been freed up if they got a deal done with him early. That never happened. They were a little cash strapped. So the room just kind of is what it is, but it's like a big gray area for me, for sure.
Yeah. Would you be upset to see? Here's what's interesting to me. Kadarius Toney seems to stand out from this group, where you saw that shot on Sunday of like Travis Kelce with his arm wrapped around Toney leaving the field. Mahomes and Reed seem to kind of go out of their way to say more positive things there than maybe about other performers who are like MVS. The floor has just dropped out completely, and you're like, how does that?
So weird.
Like, I don't even get how that happens. He's a consistent 600 yards of all downfield, yardage production every year, and then and then just nothing. Like we don't even try there, other than maybe like once a game, and then it's a big letdown, and we're like, that's why we don't try. And I'm like, is this a chicken or egg thing? I just can't even understand without knowing what's going on in the conversations, the machinations in the room at Arrowhead. You mentioned the coaching staff. It's like I just feel like there's things going on that we just can't know, and that's driving us crazy because it's it's just part of that. But yeah, let me ask you this. So I want to go back to Tony.
Sure.
Some people are like
Tony, because I have some thoughts too on him too.
Yeah, I'd love your thoughts there. Obviously, the team seems to like him. I do. When I watch him on the field, I think, man, he's got the stuff that no one else. He's so dynamic when he jukes guys. I love how violent man, when he goes for extra yards, he's so small for a guy who plays so tough. And yet there's health and that stuff. What do you think of Tony? Are we burying Tony too early? Like you said you had thoughts. I'd love to hear your riff on him.
Yeah. I mean, my current thoughts on Tony right now, you just keep using him behind the line of scrimmage, jet sweeps, bubble screens. They've been using him in some interesting ways, like wildcat, or they're lining him up, on one side, Pacheco on the other. They're doing unique stuff like that, using him as a weird hybrid halfback at times. I like that. And then my other thought is everybody keeps bringing up, don't forget about Tony's punt return in the Super Bowl, right? The longest punt return in Super Bowl history. I understand that was 15 games ago now, but if we keep talking about that play, why don't we also consider maybe putting him back on punt returns? Because he had to do it earlier this season, and he was fantastic.
Yeah.
So if McCole can come back and maybe Richie James can step up a little bit, I'm kind of the mindset why don't you just use Tony right now behind the line of scrimmage, put him back on punts, and maybe that's where maybe that's just where he stays for the rest of the season, even though we know how electric he is with the ball in his hands. I saw somebody on Twitter today saying the drop issues on Tony, talking about the pick six in the Lions game and the one that just happened, that was the interception in the game that just happened against the Patriots. He's just thinking in his head already how many people he can basically juke out of their souls. He's just trying to do too much before catching the ball. So I get it. He's insane with the ball in his hands, but I'm like, if you do that against a playoff contender, we could get away with it with the Patriots. Those guys are not good. Their defense is, but their offense averaged 13 points a game. I mean, that's 32nd in the NFL by a landslide. You can't get away with that kind of stuff in the playoffs. So that's just kind of my thoughts right now. Some people were like, hey, just keep feeding him. But I'm like, if it's going to cost turnovers, it's net negatives. He had 2 catches for 5 yards. He did have, I will say this, he had one up the right side near the beginning of the game, maybe on a shallow crosser, actually. It got negated because Rashee Rice was flagged for OPI because the defensive back ran into him. I'm like, dude, that was a horrible call. So he would have had maybe over 20 yards, but that's kind of my thoughts. Behind the line of scrimmage, gimmicky right now, and then punt returns. He's electric at punt returns. I love it.
Yeah.
Love to see him back.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I'm a little bit more supportive of Tony than maybe Moore, for example, because with Sky Moore, we just haven't even seen if he is there hasn't been that electrifying moment to make us go, oh, that's what you're capable of, and yet you're not right now. We're just left going, oh, are you just another second round pick that we lost somewhere in the, next to Breland Speaks and, whatever else. Let me switch here. You brought up Richie James a couple times. I want to read. Yeah. Here's what Andy Reid had to say this. He said, Richie has to play more than 2 snaps. That's my responsibility. I have to have him in on more stuff. That seems to be pretty straightforward from Andy, pointing to a guy and going, here's more of him. Is that heartening to you because he's just new, or do you like something about James?
Yeah, I was actually really excited when Richie James got signed just because of his production in the Giants offense. And I kind of went back and looked at his stuff and I was like, man, he is pretty dependable. And there's a stat floating out in the offseason. I can't remember what it was, but it was the most dependable catchers, most dependable receivers in the NFL using some weird metric. And Richie James was number 1 in the NFL as far as catching passes that are not expected to be caught or something like that. He was number 1. So I was definitely excited. Obviously him going to IR for 10 weeks really threw like a wrench in that. I think he was on IR for like 10 weeks. It was a long time. So I am hopeful or hoping that the Chiefs staff has to know it's not working outside of Rashee Rice, outside of obviously Travis Kelce. Justin Watson has had some bright spots, and I think he's been getting an increase of snaps when MVSs have been dipping. I'm definitely fine with that. Yeah, I would love to see an increase in Richie James snaps, and that's kind of my thought. Like, hey, if you want to put Tony back on punts, have him return, Richie could then have more of a role on the offense. The problem is, you and I and everybody in here, like, I mean, you know more than me, but it's just like we're outside looking in. We see what the coaches are saying on the outside. I know they're having tougher conversations behind the scenes, or at least I hope and pray they're having tougher conversations behind the scenes. So yeah, to answer your question about Richie, I hope we see an uptick in his play, and I almost have to believe that with Sky Moore on IR, Richie's going to play more.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, I am baffled. I'll be baffled. I'll be just straight up confused.
By the way, we brought up MVS without going in a couple times.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea where that floor went? I mean, it felt like the floor was safe for 500 or 600 yards, for 30-ish yards a game, a couple downfield strikes per game. There's nothing. There's nothing in that tank now. But yet I'm like, he's kind of young to hit some wall. He hasn't been on the injury report. I don't even know what I'm looking for. Do you have any thoughts there?
I'm pretty baffled because I saw a stat somewhat recently. I think downfield contested catches last year with MVS was somewhere around 50%. He was catching these deep passes from Mahomes. I haven't looked up the updated stat after this past game. Like that Justin Watson throw down the left side, I don't think it traveled 35 yards past the line of scrimmage. I don't think so. But prior to this game, Mahomes was 0 for 10 and 3 interceptions on passes 35 or more yards from the line of scrimmage. That's freaking insane to even think about. And yeah, I never anticipated the MVS drop off. Like I'm pretty, like he's only 29, but I'm like, what happened? Where did that go? Some people are like, well, it's EB. Some people said, well, it's Connor Embry, the wide receiver coach who's never coached wide receivers before. I just, at the end of the day, they're not out there. And I think another confusing part to me is with MVS, he's had another year in Andy Reid's system. I thought we would see more rapport with him and Mahomes on these deep passes where more times than not, MVS is thinking A and Mahomes is thinking B based on the coverages. Now, some are probably on Mahomes, but a lot are probably on MVS. It's a mix there. We can't never blame Mahomes. I get it. He's the best in the game. Top 5 in every EPA statistical category this season, in spite of his wide receivers having the most drops in the NFL over the past decade, highest drop rate. So yeah, I'm pretty confused about the MVS thing, man. He has regressed in ways that I don't know that a lot of people saw coming. I for sure did not.
Yeah. I think of all the things that are baffling, it's that one, because you didn't know about Sky Moore, whether he would step up. Kadarius, you held out hope because of the draft pedigree, first round, whatever. But at least you thought, well, at least we've got this guy who always had issues with drops going back to Green Bay, but at least,
yeah, for sure,
but nothing to this degree. You brought up McCole Hardman. I have to admit, I've got no love here, and I've got no love here not because I want to be mean to McCole Hardman, but because when I see another team that needs playmakers, like the Jets, sign a guy for $3.5 million, maybe up to $4.5 million with incentives, and they sit him from the word go, paying him to not play. The Chiefs traded for him in a swap of low-level picks.
Yep.
I'm just looking at that going, man, if he couldn't even play for the Jets, what am I really expecting here? How much hope are you holding out that when he returns, there's going to be some positive, production there?
Yeah, I think when they traded for him right before the trade deadline, it was literally like a week before it, basically same time the year prior that they traded for Kadarius Toney. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, there's the receiver. that they traded for that everybody wants the Chiefs to go make a move for
Yeah.
somebody else. They're like, well, who are they going to trade for? I'm like, well, they traded for McCole. At the time in my head, it made sense for a couple of reasons because Richie James was still on IR.
Yeah.
Tony was banged up. So I was like, well, McCole is instantly the returner, and he's somebody that could pretty quickly within a couple weeks like plug and play as like gadgety guy. But as far as like serious production, talking majority of the offensive snaps and dependable downfield. I mean, even his last year here, he was having downfield issues, misconnects with Mahomes on passes, and he'd been here for 4 years. So I don't know that. I think that's the problem. I don't know that Justin Ross is going to do anything insane. I don't know that McCole coming back is going to do anything insane. And I don't really know if Richie James is going to do anything insane. I think it's the Kelsey and Rice show, and hopefully Pacheco, with that shoulder, he stays healthy enough to where they're able to use his explosiveness in the run game as well. And I know you didn't ask this, but shout out to CEH. He had a great game last week. That was really awesome. I didn't know that 5'7" guys, no offense, I don't know your height, but I did not know they could jump that high. That was unreal. But yeah, man, to circle back after saying all that, I don't have a lot of expectations for McCole, but I am just like, well, it's not working out with who they've been using. So can we try just outside of Rasheed and Justin Watson, you want to try just shuffling the pieces and seeing if something else sticks? I mean, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think we all know it is the Rice and Kelsey show. But we don't need much more than that in the passing game. Like, you just need that like third level receiver to at least be somewhat reliable. And I'm just surprised that no one has stepped up just to give that 30, 40 yards every, like it could be Justin Watson, someone else to kind of help break that up. And especially some sort of downfield target. I wish we could find something there to open that up. Going to the backfield here with you for just a minute. You brought up CEH. I want to talk Edwards-Helaire because I want to know if Pacheco's coming back, what are we going to see from those guys? Like, do you think that breakout effort, if you will, is going to affect the way that maybe we deploy the other two?
You say breakout effort, you're talking with CEH last week?
Yeah.
I mean, part of me wouldn't be surprised if they did lean a little bit more on Clyde these last few weeks of the regular season, especially considering if they win Monday, Merry freaking Christmas, Chiefs Kingdom. We clinched the West. Let's go, dude. Like, that's the ultimate Christmas present. Part of me wouldn't be surprised especially if they get this W, you kind of use Clyde as a little bit of a workhorse. He's productive, and you kind of ease Pacheco back in a little bit. I understand, like, he was like cleared to go last week after the shoulder cleanup, but at the end of the day, it's like he just runs so violent and he plays so violent. I fear for Pacheco almost not every single run, but definitely every single game. He hits people so hard. So part of me wouldn't be surprised if Clyde got a little bit more reps in, just as they kind of balance things out before the postseason run. And I wouldn't even be mad by it. I mean, if Clyde's been looking healthy, he's been moving well. I've been pretty impressed in a good way. I understand he hasn't lived up to his first round draft selection. We have to just throw that aside. He's probably gone next year. Yeah. But I thought he played well. I wouldn't be surprised to see them use him a little bit more. Talking about CEH, but yeah. What I'd be curious to know your thoughts too. Like, it's an interesting room, especially with Pacheco banged up, and then McKinnon, he's nursing a groin injury for a handful of weeks. He might still be nursing that a little bit, but then he left the game last week, cradling his shoulder and came back out. I was like, yo, we're about to see Deneric Prince. I was like, this is gonna be crazy. So yeah, that's kind of where my thoughts are right now, at least with the running back room. I'm excited for Pacheco. I'm glad it's not like IR when I heard shoulder surgery. Yeah, so I am very glad about that.
Yeah, second surgery in a calendar year, though, is not all that hopeful.
On the same shoulder, yeah.
Yeah, same shoulder. I think we're going to see some off-season attention there and at tight end and at wide receiver. Like, I think all three rooms are at like a warning zone, and you have to go all in on offense in this next draft. Despite what I think about defensive tackle, by the way. I'm like dying for another high investment there. Look, I want to go macro with you level. I know, folks, by the way, Cole, we've only got Cole here for a little bit. I want to respect our time. And
You're good, man.
Cole, you got a couple minutes here. We could survey the AFC with you.
Yeah, I got like another 10 minutes, or if that works for you.
Sounds
yes,
great.
Sir.
Yeah, sounds great. I want to get your take on the state of the AFC. You mentioned on Sunday the Chiefs can clinch their playoff berth with a win over the Las Vegas Raiders. They can also do it if they tie the Raiders and the Broncos lose. It seems like they're going to punch a ticket, hopefully very shortly, and at least just get that off their back. But the number one seed is still in play. But I want to know what you think of the state of the AFC. Let me bring up here the Baltimore Ravens. Here's the remaining schedule. They go at San Francisco. Then they play the Dolphins and host the Steelers to end the season. How do you like that run? Do you think they're going to sweep that, or what are your expectations there?
I think they need to lose 2, right, in order for the Chiefs to for the Chiefs to get that 1 seed. The Dolphins need to lose 1.
Yeah.
I mean, I was hoping the Jags would get it done. They had opportunities to get it done, dude. That was a really weird game.
Yeah.
But you can't go back now. But yeah, moving forward, I think the Ravens lost to the Steelers, didn't they? Earlier this season. I'm almost positive one of their losses was to the Steelers. I could be wrong. I'm going off the top of my head. But I think the 49ers is a dangerous game. I'm going to be very curious to see that, because that's like the projected right now Super Bowl matchup based on power rankings, depending on where you look. I do hope and think the 49ers can get that done. If they can't, I'm like, I don't know if anybody else can. But the Steelers, I'm almost positive. Let me look real quick. Yeah, because the Steelers are in their division. Division games are like their own beast.
Yeah.
That's what we talk about. I talk about that on my channel all the time. You have like trap games, but then you have like division games, and their division games are just their own like little subcategory that are always, they're just weird, very weird. So I don't know, man. I think they could lose a couple. I'm very hopeful that they do, at least. That's the Chiefs fan in me.
Yeah, I get it. And there's a lot to play for here. The Miami Dolphins, they host the Dallas Cowboys. Then they travel to Baltimore. Then they host the Buffalo Bills. I mean, if I got to pick 3 teams to play them, I might pick those 3 teams. Like what? Like, do you think they could go 0-3 there?
They're definitely losing one of those.
Yeah,
they have to. I mean, the Bills are looking good right now. Say what you want about where they're at in the power rankings, and like some people are putting them at number 1 and doing weird stuff, but like they're playing really good football right now. And it was actually really surprising to see how bad. I know you didn't ask about the Bills, but just how bad the Bills beat the brakes off the Cowboys when the Chiefs and Bills were like right there. And everyone's talking about, oh, the Cowboys a powerhouse. And I'm like, I don't know, dude. I don't know if they're getting there again with Dak and company. But yeah, I definitely think the Dolphins lose at least. We really only need them to lose 1. I think they're at least losing 1 of those games. I would be shocked if they didn't lose at least 1 of them. If it's not the Ravens, Cowboys, who was the other one? Because the Bills.
Bills, yeah.
I mean, those are tough games, man. That's a hard one for the Dolphins' remaining schedule.
Because those 2 are in front of the Chiefs, you sounded much more optimistic about the Dolphins there. Do you have a prediction on where the Chiefs finish? I know we all hope they get number 1, but would you predict a top seed, or are you thinking more they're going to stay at number 3 or grab the 2 seed?
I'm just a fan like everybody else in chat. So I'm kind of the mindset of like, I just hope every single week that the chips fall, right? And the Chiefs continue the home field advantage in the playoffs and you know, to help give them a little bit of an edge, because it's loud as hell there. If they don't, they don't. And I still think a angry, hungry Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Andy Reid with the defense that's been carrying a lot of this almost every game, I think they're going to be a very dangerous team in the playoffs. I don't care if it's on the road or at home. I'm never going to doubt or underestimate the Chiefs in the postseason. So if I had to put money on it, I don't know that I'm throwing like $5,000 on the Chiefs winning the 1 seed, but I'd put some money just out of like, maybe it's a bias or a little bit. It's just I've been a Chiefs fan my whole life. So I'm definitely going to hope for it. Not going to put the mortgage on it.
Got it. If you could see one more development for the Chiefs in these final 3 games, they face the Raiders, then they face the Bengals, and then we have the Chargers in week 19, week 18, whatever, however long
That's
the
the
season
last
is
week.
now.
Yeah.
The last week. In those 3 games, if you could answer the question, I think what the Chiefs need to see the most in these final 3 games, like a specific roster development, how would you fill in that blank?
I mean, the biggest thing I would just want to see, honestly, is outside of Rice and Kelsey, is just somebody make catches and show that they're somewhat on the same page with Mahomes and just not turn the ball over. I mean, that's my main thought is just what we hope for every single week. Can the offense just not have the penalties in the red zone? Can they not turn over in the weirdest ways at times? And then can they put 7 up instead of 3 and just show that they can do that for most of the game, not just first half or the second half. I know it's not a roster development that you're asking for, and maybe that roster development is one of these other guys. Richie James is stepping up. McCole comes back. No, I'm not hedging bets on any of this, but maybe it's just one of those guys outside of Kelsey and Rice just show that, hey, Pat, Mahomes, you can trust me. That's just kind of where I'm at, because I feel like the sample size is pretty large for the offense. It kind of is what it is. They average 22 points a game, but to be fair, they've kneeled out at the 1, 2, 3, 4 yard line in 3 games so far this season where they could have scored. So maybe it's 24, 25 points per game, which it was 30 last year. My biggest concern is the red zone decline. It was 2nd last year and they're 14th now. I didn't answer your question directly about roster development, but I think it's just because it's such a weird, it's like, when you're driving down the road and it's like one of those super misty mornings, you're like, well, I know the direction I'm supposed to be going. We know the direction the Chiefs are supposed to be going, but you can't see, like that stop sign is 50 feet down the road. I know it, but I can't see it. That's just kind of where I am, man. I'm just hoping that just the little stuff at the offense, the miscues, the drops, the penalties, the turnovers, even if they eliminate those by 25% in a game, they're dangerous playoff contenders, in my opinion.
Yeah. I'm still of the opinion that no one wants to play them. I mean, that no matter what the seed is, no matter what's going on, I think that's it. Look, I'll say this, Cole, before you go. We just want to say we appreciate you so much coming on the show. Folks, if you haven't already followed Cole on Twitter, it's at HBT Chiefs. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And subscribe at his YouTube channel. How about those Chiefs? You can see all the information in the description of however you're taking in this podcast. All the links are there for you. Cole, we hope you have a wonderful evening. Certainly hope you have you back on the show sooner than later. But thanks so much for your time today.
I really appreciate you having me on. It's an honor to be here again. Watched you guys for a long time before I ever started my channel. So anytime you guys ask if I can make it happen, I'm down. So thanks again, Matt. Appreciate you. And hopefully the next time we chat, whether it's just on Twitter or wherever, the Chiefs get the W on Christmas for us all. So happy holidays. Merry Christmas to everybody. And I appreciate you.
You got it. Thanks again, Cole. Hey folks, just want to run over some quick defensive thoughts. As Cole was going to go have dinner with his family, got to respect that. And I know we were asking him for some extra time today. By the way, man, if you don't know, I mean, over at How About Those Chiefs, it's such a grind, turning out so many great videos again and again and again. It takes a lot of work. So I totally understand, like, asking him to do more of what he already does so much is a lot of ask. I want to talk just real quick defense. I'm happy to take some questions from the comments if I see them or whatever. By the way, some of you are like, where's Sterling? Sterling is out for some early family holiday stuff. And then, by the way, Sterling is engaged and getting married. And so that's all part of the plan too. So Sterling's with family and future family and all that business. And it's pretty exciting times for him. Personally there, congrats there to both he and Natalie. But Hey, look, some defensive thoughts that I think are important to address just coming through here in the last few games. Mike Pennell, I went I was hardcore against Mike Pennell last week. Not because of anything about I don't like Mike Pennell. Mike Pennell's fine, but it just like blew me away that we're still not seeing Neil Farrell. We allowed Keandre Coburn to leave. We re-signed a 32-year-old street free agent to the practice squad. And then 2 months later, he's playing real reps in a game. I was just beside myself thinking, what are we doing along the interior? Then I saw what we did to Zeke Elliott. Now I know the Patriots offense is nothing to write home about, but honestly, watching the job that Pennell and the run defense did on Sunday against the Patriots with Zeke Elliott and company, I just need to walk some of that back. And that was a really impressive job up front by Chris Jones and the rest of the interior there. The safeties, even without Brian Cook, are helping to set good edges up and run support. It was just a phenomenal job, and I think that's a real positive sign for the Chiefs going forward in an area where they've needed some help. If Mike Pennell is the help, then so be it. I'm here for it if it's positive. Second defensive thought, and I think this is huge too. Drew Tranquil back, Nick Bolton back. Nick Bolton getting into a groove after being gone for so long. Now we're seeing Leo Chenal at the end of his second year. We're seeing Tranquil fully understand what Spags is wanting his guys to do. Now Spags is learning, and I think this is going to take a little bit of time, the final 3 games of the year included. But Spags is going to further learn, how do I use all these guys? Willie Gay Jr., motivated by a contract year. Drew, now healthy, coming out of the concussion protocol. Nick Bolton getting back into the groove there. Chenal growing even more. When Spags learns a little bit more each week about how to use those 4 guys, it's going to be incredible. I just can't. I love watching that unit every week. And sometimes the Chiefs allow those early points, but that unit is so good at making the adjustments and helping the defense to put the clamps down as the game goes on. That to me is super, super exciting. The other defensive thought I have, moving to the secondary, just to keep watch as the games creep in here, as the Raiders come up. Here's what I'm watching for. I hate losing Brian Cook. I like Brian Cook, a very underrated player in the secondary. Safeties are often overlooked, and Cook is overlooked in the secondary with so many other playmakers like Snead, McDuffie, and even Justin Reed as a more vocal veteran, for example. When you lose Cook, you have to ask more of Mike Edwards. And we were lucky that we had Mike Edwards to be able to step up, but there's a reason Mike Edwards was a third safety. He's a ball hawk with he's got a great nose for the ball and good instincts to know when to take chances. But what you want him in situations where there's opportune moments that he could jump on, not consistently challenged situations. And we're going to see, we watch Hunter Henry down the field and back again and again and again. Losing Cook and then putting Edwards in that role is going to allow some of these tight ends to consistently sort of take advantage of a guy who really shouldn't be in the lineup as often as that. My hope is Shamari Connor is now in the third safety role. If Connor, by the way, great last name, if he could move forward in a meaningful way and maybe allow Edwards to go back to that third safety role, gonna be a huge, huge salve for that secondary. So love the Connor draft pick, love the Edwards signing, especially for what he was meant to do. The Cook injury rearranges some of those pieces. We have 3 games left to see if Edwards can get more consistency or if we can relegate him back there and allow maybe Shamari Connor to take over that role. It's interesting to me. The Chiefs have the pieces. They have the depth. Brett Veach built an incredible secondary and deserves all kinds of credit for doing so. So, yeah, those are some defensive thoughts there. Folks, we're reaching the end of the show here. And I wasn't going to do this, but I want to do this here. If you're still listening, if you're hanging out with us, I know we had to let Cole go here. I have a non-football thought, and then we'll finish with this. And honestly, next week we're going to be on a break because it's holidays, and we're all going to be hanging out with our families of this. I'll say this, and again, this is not football. Some of you won't care about this because it's personal, and that's fine. Maybe I shouldn't go here. But last week, I had the chance to go. We did a Christmas celebration in Florida, and then my family and I flew home last Friday. While in Florida, I got a phone call late night, almost midnight, from a friend who said, "Hey, I've got some bad news." And relayed to me a friend's passing, a friend who was in over his head, mental health wise, and actually turned the gun on himself in his chest and decided to end his life while in his own parents' home. And so we flew back from Florida for this funeral. Look, this is a downer of a note to end this great podcast on, by the way. We loved having Cole on, and I was a little hesitant about going here, but we're coming up on the holidays. We're in a time of year that's difficult for people already, where there's like shortened sunlight and winter, whatever. And we're coming up on a holiday season that can actually be pretty hard on some people. And I was just at a funeral for a friend who was in his 30s, where a room full of people stood up for this guy and talked about how this friend, our friend, Josh, helped talk them out of their own suicidal situations. Like the guy that we buried was responsible for talking some of us out of our darkest places. And yet he was in his own dark place and was unreachable there for whatever reason. And it just reminds me of this, that you never know where someone's at. You never know what someone's dealing with. You never know who just needs to hear from you. A random call, an inside joke, a funny text thread, a Chiefs meme, a whatever, right? You never know what someone is going to need until after the fact, when you realized that they needed it and we didn't give it. And that's not to say that if one of us had done or said the right thing, that Josh wouldn't have done what he did, but he did. And there was a room full of people last Friday. We were all commiserating together, just going, is there anything that could have been done? Because any of us would have loved to have done it. And Josh did it for so many other people. And I just want to say, in this time of year that can be difficult in this fractured society where we're all kind of off on our own islands all the time, if you feel that prompt to call that person, text that friend, reach out to that family member, whatever, just do it. Because you just never know. And if there's going to be any message to go out before the holidays, and this is my last sort of podcast before I get a little bit of a break here on the Arrowhead Addict channel, I just wanted to say, being there for one another is the best thing we can do for one another. And I certainly just want to wish all the best to all of you out there. Thank you for hanging out with us here. Thank you for being a positive presence for all of us. And yeah, if we can extend that presence to anyone else, I hope in any way that I can do it, and I hope you do too. So hey, from myself, on behalf of our producer Richard and Sterling, and I'm assuming Cole, I can say for him too, we love Chiefs Kingdom and all of you forever hanging out with any of us in any of the media that we have, and we wish you well. And to anyone who's needing help in a time like this, not only do I hope that some of us reach out in our own energy, but please reach out for that help as well. But yeah, on the other side of all that, we also hope the Chiefs beat the Raiders. I'm not sure how to do that segue. I hope there's infinite grace here for all of that. But yeah, much love to you all. We'll see you on the other side of Christmas and all that. Stay tuned though. Later this week, Adam Best will be here tomorrow. Patrick Allen, Matt Verderam Thursday. The week goes on like normal in the lead up to the Raiders game. But yeah, again, thanks for hanging out here. Go Chiefs. We'll see you next time.